How to know if your Nepenthes has too much light? You know that when there is not enough light, you won't have pitchers, etc., so it won't be carnivorous. But if you provide too much light, then that's different. You will have some problem with the leaves, and even the size of the pitcher may reduce. So we have to really know the amount where it's too much and how to scale it down. So that's the topic of this video. Okay, to give you perspective, this is my sunny south-facing windowsill. During fall, the sun enters and reaches the plants. So now I want to show you the power. 95,000 lux. So when you talk about too much light, you have to understand this is a lot of light, but it will move over the day. Some plants will have the light during a few hours and then they will be in the shadow by other plants because the sun is turning. And there is 3 windows. So some will get redder over time, but they are pink at the beginning. Some will stay green. Some will be purple to red no matter what. Some will be covered with this wax, what we call wax. It prevents the plants to dry up too quickly. This one also, that's an Edwardian cross. It's getting a lot of light lately, but most of them are just super healthy, no sunburn. That's it. There is no problem having a harsh light for a few hours, as long as it's not for too long and they can recover because again the sunlight will turn and they will be in the shadow, only exposed a few hours a day. So on the windowsill, I don't have too much light. It's just perfect. Sometimes you will have like a pinkish colors, like this part, but it's because it's the underside of the leaf. So now let's see inside the tent, the grow tent, what kind of light I had at the beginning and how I reduced it over time. So when I assembled my first tent, I was a newbie. I put a lot of light, 4 tubes of light at the bottom, and then on the top of the grow tent, I had also 4. So that was a lot of light. And it's totally normal. When we start, we always give too much or too little light, too much or too little watering, etc. So that's just the learning curve. After that, I reduced one shelf. I took one shelf off. So 2 lights were gone at the bottom, and on the top it was still the 4 lights that you saw just earlier. But the problem with 2 of these lights is that they are really close to the biggest plants, and it's too much light. I can see it. I will show you. So we'll start by the Nepenthes bicalcarata. The new leaves are always green, obviously, but then they will start to dry like that. They are not shiny, we can see some veins, and then they will just cook. So, not great, too much light for this species. Let's see another species. Those ones, that's the LVB by Norsiana maxima. Color is great, but we can, it's a little bit, it's tolerant to a lot of light, so that's why it's misleading, but that's still a lot of light. And they will also get this dry, not shiny, matte color. Here, it's gonna be the same. The color is not great, some are a little bit burnt. Never the new leaf. The new leaf is always good, but over time you see it's cooking. But we don't have a real sunburn here. We are just having too much light. It's not like sunburn and the leaves are really damaged. It's not that obvious. That's why it took me time to figure it out. But for example, the lowland veitchii, the color should not be like that. So I will have to reduce the amount of light. And some species like minima, Nepenthes minima in the center, all the leaves are a little bit not burned, but still. This one, fantastic color for sure. That's the same cross as the small one that take a lot of light. This is Sibilensis by Ventricosa. It's already getting a lot of light. It's no longer really green, but even tolerant light species you can see here. The part of the leaf exposed to the light is not the same color. And that's what is confusing with Nepenthes. Some cross will have really reddish leaves, some will take a lot of light without burning, but for other species you will see some spots, you will see also the color will be not healthy. The new leaves should always be shiny, never matte. And for some species you can even see the vein inside the leaf, which is very not good. So after all those clues, because that's only what you will have, some clues about the tolerance of light, etc. This one is great. So it's hard to tell, but I decided to give it a try and reduce the light. Here, as you see now, we have 3 only lights on the top, and they are at the highest possible. They are no longer here. So we have a lot of distance above the biggest plants, and that may also influence the temperature inside the grow tent. So let's see some data here. I have 2 sensors inside the grow tent. The Windowsill on the top, higher shelf, and at the bottom, lower shelf, the sensor pêche. So we'll compare the 2 temperatures on the top shelf and lower shelf. So we'll see if this LED that is supposed to produce almost no heat will influence the overall temperature of the grow tent. So first, Windowsill. As we see, the temperature is not changing a lot. And the sensor pêche confirmed that even on the lower shelf. Really quick, if you're new here, I explain everything about growing Nepenthes on a windowsill or in a grow tent. So if you love pitcher plants, make sure you subscribe. Let's go back to the video now. So on the lower shelf, I never change anything. So same amount of lights, let's not talk about it. Here. So 6 weeks, I reduced the lights, and now the new leaf of Glandulifera is way better. So this one is really showing that it's better. And it's still pitchering, so there is no problem. This new leaf was a little bit bigger than the previous one, but it's hard to tell if it's related. Those ones, nothing changed. The following one, that was the unhealthy color, so it was getting better, and now it's even better. Still some color, but it's getting way better. What else I can show you? Here, for example. So the previous lights were just above. So that was a little bit too much. And if you are thinking about those spots, it's normal. That's when I bring it from the windowsill to the grow tent. The light was too strong in the grow tent, so the old leaves were damaged. And then the new leaves started to adapt to the new amount of light. But now that I have reduced the light, this new one is pretty healthy. So that's also a win. And even the so-called burn leaf, they will produce a picture. This one, for example. That's a picture that was grown when the plant were inside the grow tent. Same for this one. So all those leaves will produce tendril and pitchers because of the humidity. A little bit too much light, but still okay. And now that should be even better. The pitchers, if I show you the last pitcher, was way bigger than the previous one. And it was, yeah, here we have a new tendril with a new pitcher that will come. So the plant don't stop pitchering because I reduced the light. It's not that at all. This one, healthier color. So I really hope it will stay this way. Pitchering. So that's the old one. It was matte, as you see. but the new one is really shiny. Let's hope it stays this way. That's also nice. It's still handling, there is a lot of light, I mean, but not too much now. What about the Nepenthes bicalcerata? Before, the leaves were always turning very burn, and now all the new leaves are staying green, which is fantastic. So they are still shiny, still healthy, and now it's picturing. So pretty happy with this one. Old leaf again, but this one, let me show you the picture because that's why you're here. Tiny teeth, that's cute. I can't wait to see it older. And keep in mind that bicalcerata is a lowlander, so that grows in a forest. So there is a lot of trees above them, giving a lot of shadows. So that's why it's not really happy when it's too much light. Those one, again, LVB by Northern Maxima, they are starting to get better. Not all, because on those, some are really, really naturally red. So that's an improvement, I mean. Not always obvious. The leaf that were already starting kept their old color, but the new one should be greener. So on the seedlings, reducing the light didn't impact anything. They keep picturing and growing, so that was a good call to reduce the light. It saved money. The new leaf is great. No problem of distance here. And because I know a lot of you guys like having some real data, I downloaded an app to calculate the number of lux, the amount of light reaching the plants. I don't have like a fancy light meter, but that will give you a good idea of the amount of light my plants get. So on the lower shelf, that's really high, but in the center there is no light just above, so it's really low. That's where I've put 2 plants that are sensitive to light to see if it's good or not. So now on the higher shelf, again, the gradient to the distance, I mean smaller plants, medium plants and bigger plants, that's the amount of light they get every day for 14 hours. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see how I set up this tent, here is a video for you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments, and until next time, happy growing!